Chapter 2, Slaves of the Enemy. The raiders moved the herd eastward over the Buffalo Trail as quickly as they could. As they rode, Kaya caught glimpses of the Loxa River in the valley, but the trail stayed on the top of the ridge. The going was easier up here than in the wooded gullies filled with windfall trees. Kaya had been on this trail before. It was an old pathway made long before Nimipu had horses. In some places, it split and braided together again when travelers had walked around fallen trees or boulders. In other places, it was only a narrow ledge hugging a cliff. Kaya watched the horses carefully when they came to the dangerous ledges. Surely the raiders were pushing them too fast along this bad part of the trail. A horse that lost its footing would fall down the rocky slope and perhaps be killed. The gentle old pack horse that belonged to Kautsa often stumbled in fatigue. Kaya kept her eye on the old horse, hoping he could keep up, but on a curving ledge, he slipped on the loose rocks. Kaya held back a cry as the old horse tumbled down the bluff in a shower of stones and lay still at the bottom. Wouldn't the raiders slow the other horses now? But no, they only pushed them faster. Kaya kept her gaze on Steps High and prayed that her horse would keep her footing. Be strong, she urged Steps High and herself. Where were the enemies taking them? Each night at last light, they camped in open glades where the horses could graze. A raider back scouted the trail to see if they were followed. Kaya hoped that Tota and other men were coming behind and would overpower the raiders. She thought that young men from Buffalo Country were no match for a Nimipu man. But when the scout returned and the raiders continued on without rushing, Kaya knew no one was behind them. At the highest point on the pass, Kaya gazed back at the mountains that loomed between her and her home country. Her courage sank low. She told herself that Hanyawa had made the sky above her and the earth beneath her. I am in his home no matter where I go, she thought. Still, fear was a bitter taste in her mouth as they moved farther from her people. Each night, the raiders tied Kaya's leg to speaking reins. At first light, the raiders untied them and sent Kaya to gather heavy loads of wood for the fire. They fed Kaya and Speaking Rain only the scraps from their meals. Kaya felt like the starving dogs that sometimes appeared at camp out of nowhere, cringing and groveling for a bite of food. She vowed that if she ever got back to her people again, she would never chase off the desperate sad-eyed dogs. When they passed some hot springs, where steaming water spouted from the rocks, the trail ran down the east side of the mountains. And another day, they reached the broad river valley below. Kaya remembered passing this way with the family when they went to hunt buffalo on the plains beyond. Then, this country had seemed full of promise and adventure. Now it seemed strange and menacing. A wide, swift river flowed north down the valley. If the raiders crossed the river, they'd be well on their way to their home country. How would she and her sister get home from so far away? In this valley, the raiders moved the horses at night to avoid being seen. Shortly after first light, they came to a small buffalo hunting camp of their people, hidden in a canyon. The high-covered teepees were decorated with animals and birds painted in brilliant colors, so different from the brown tule mat teepees of Kaya's people. As the raiders approached the camp, the hunters and the women gathered to greet them. The raiders rode proudly through the camp, displaying the horses and the girls they'd stolen. Though Kaya wouldn't let her feelings show, she was sick to see the raiders praised and honored. She winced when the men looked over the horses and stroked the ones they liked best, Steps High among them. How she hated to have enemy hands on her horse. All the men and women in the camp were pleased and smiling, except one dirty boy with a sullen face who stared grimly at Kaya. It came to her that the angry-looking boy was a slave too, and that soon she and Speaking Rain would look as tired and bitter as he. Kaya stared at her feet when the women came to inspect her in Speaking Rain. The women pinched the girls' arms to feel their muscles, then shook their heads and talked among themselves. They didn't sound pleased. Kaya and Speaking Rain were dirty and their was tangled. They were used to bathing in the cold river and cleansing themselves in the heat of the sweat lodge every single day. Since they'd been captured, they hadn't been able to wash. When the women saw Speaking Rain's cloudy eyes, they frowned and spoke angrily to the raiders. Were they saying that a blind slave was nothing more than another belly to feed? Were they just saying that Speaking Rain was no use to them and abandoned her here, so far from Salmon River country? But one raider took Speaking Rain's arm and led her to a young mother with a baby. He said something that caused the mother to look more kindly at Speaking Rain. Kaya guessed he told the mother that the blind girl wasn't entirely useless. She could sing lullabies and could help tend the baby while the mother worked. Kaya hoped they soon realized what a skilled cord maker and weaver Speaking Rain was too. One of the older women, with gray hair and a lined face, led Kaya to her teepee. Both designs of otters were painted on the teepee in bright yellow and red. Kaya thought of the old woman as Otter Woman. She sat Kaya down and gave her buffalo meat to eat. When Kaya had eaten, the woman took Kaya to where other women were cleaning hides. She handed Kaya a sharp-edged rib bone and made a scraping motion. She wanted Kaya to scrape the fat and meat from a hide that was staked to the ground. Kaya had often helped Kautsa clean hides. She knelt by the buffalo hide and began to scrape at it with a rib bone. Otter Woman watched her work for a little while, then nodded in satisfaction. Kaya scraped even harder until her shoulders ached and her arms were sore. She vowed to work twice as hard in order to make up for Speaking Rain. Somehow she must protect her sister. When night came, Otter Woman led Kaya and Speaking Rain into her teepee. She spread hides for them beside her sleeping place and motioned for them to lie down. Taking a thick rawhide thong, she tied it around Kaya's ankle and then around her own. She made the knots tight so Kaya couldn't untie the thong and run away. She didn't bother to tie up Speaking Rain. A blind girl wouldn't try to escape. Speaking Rain pressed against Kaya's side. "Be strong," Kaya whispered to her. Otter Woman gave her a sharp pinch that meant, "Hush, go to sleep." Kaya clenched her teeth and vowed she would not cry, not even in the dark. But how could she sleep when her heart was aching so badly? She and Speaking Rain were slaves. They might never see their people again. At first light, Kaya was sent to gather firewood. She watched the hunters ride away from camp to hunt buffalo in the valley. Later in the day, when the men returned with the buffalo they had killed, they gave the meat and hide to the women. Otter Woman set Kaya to work and led Speaking Rain to sing to the baby. All day, the women worked, cutting up the meat and hanging the strips on poles to dry. They scraped and tanned the hides, wasting nothing. Kaya's arms and back ached from the hard work of scraping. When she grew dizzy from the sun and weary from the work, she told herself to be strong for Speaking Rain. Black and white magpies swooped over the drying meat, stealing bits for themselves. Magpie, Kaya's nickname. She had tried to be more responsible, but then she disobeyed Itza's order to run for safety in the woods. That mistake had put her and Speaking Rain into captivity. Maybe I deserved that nickname after all, Kaya thought miserably. She picked up a magpie feather and put it in the bag on her belt, a reminder that she must think of others before herself. From where Kaya worked, she often caught glimpses of Steps High grazing with the other horses. If only she could get to her horse, touch her. All day the women worked, cutting up the meat and hanging the strips on poles to dry. Kaya's arms and back ached from the hard work of scraping. From where Kaya worked, she often caught glimpses of Steps High grazing with the other horses. If only she could get to her horse, touch her, stroke her. Kaya watched for a chance to approach the herd, but the boys who tended the horses never seemed to leave them. One evening, when the sun blazed on the horizon, Kaya saw a horse move away from the herd and come nearer to the camp. The horse was Steps High. The herders didn't seem to notice the lone horse, or maybe the sun blinded them when they looked her way. Kaya ran behind the teepees and into the sagebrush beyond the camp. She stopped there and whistled softly. Her horse raised her head and came closer. Before Kaya could reach her horse, a man strode up beside her, a rawhide rope in his hand. Angrily, he stroked Kaya's leg with the rope and gestured for her to get back to the camp. As she turned to go, she saw him put the rope bridle on Steps High's lower jaw. Confidently, he leaped onto Steps High's back and rode away from the camp. Kaya watched her beautiful horse galloping swiftly across the plain. If only I could jump on your back and race away from here, she thought. The man kicked Steps High until she was running flat out. Her shadow flew at her heels. Then she began to buck. The man whipped her with his quirt and sawed at the rope bridle in her mouth. He dragged the horse's head around and rode her in a circle. When he managed to subdue her, he rode her back toward camp and whipped her harder. Blood stained the lather on her neck and shoulders. Kaya wanted to cry out, "Stop!" but she could do nothing to protect her horse. She was a slave. When Kaya was sent into the thicket to gather firewood, she sometimes took Speaking Rain along to help carry back the heavy bundles. The slave boy was sent for wood too. Kaya thought he was about her age, and she wanted to know more about him. But when she came close, he frowned and turned away. Kaya knew he must be ashamed to be doing the work of women. Kaya didn't follow him. These times were her only chance to talk freely with Speaking Rain. "The hunt will soon be over," Kaya said, one morning. They have almost as much dry meat as the pack horses can carry. Speaking Rain sighed. It's getting colder too. Soon they'll start back to their country. If only we could escape before they take us farther away, Kaya said. Speaking Rain agreed. But how can we? Kaya asked. We have to go when it's dark, and at night, I'm tied to other women. Could you cut the thong? Speaking Rain asked. The knife is in her pack, but I can't reach it, Kaya said. But I'm not tied up, Speaking Rain said. I'll find the knife and give it to you. Kaya thought a moment as she wound a thong around the armful of dry branches that Speaking Rain held. Speaking Rain was quiet too. Even if you cut yourself free, I'd never keep up with you on the run, she said slowly. You'll have to go without me. Kaya winced at the thought. I'd never do that, she said. She got her sister into this, and she couldn't leave her here as a slave. You have to leave me. Speaking Rain's voice was firm. You must escape so you can bring others back to get me. Kaya pressed her fingertips to Speaking Rain's lips. Don't say that. How can I go without you? Because it's our only hope, Speaking Rain said. Kaya lifted a bundle of wood onto Speaking Rain's back and took the second bundle onto her own. But even if I escaped, could I get to Salmon River country before snow falls? She asked. Speaking Rain was quiet for a moment, thinking. Could you take your horse? She said. You travel much faster on Steps High. They're sure to see me if I try that, Kaya said. I have to slip away on foot. But if I go on foot, her head was spinning. I don't know what to do. Help me. Think, Speaking Rain said. If Kaotsu were captured, what would she do? Kaya blinked. She knew the answer to that. Kaotsu would try to escape. Speaking Rain said. We must start hiding some of our food for your journey. As they trudged back to the camp, Kaya's mind raced with questions. How can I leave my sister behind? What will happen to Steps High? But a more terrifying thought came to Kaya. What if I escape, but I'm captured again? What will the enemies from Buffalo Country do to me then? When Kaya came back to the camp from scraping hides that day, she saw a skinny slave boy tending a fire. There were birds caught in his hair, and his only clothing was a ragged breechcloth and worn moccasins. As she came near him, he motioned for her to stop. He glanced around, then with his hands he threw her the words, Do you speak sign language? Kaya had learned how people talk with gestures when they couldn't speak each other's language. She answered with her hands, I speak sign language. What tribe are you? He sighed. She pointed to herself, then swept her hand from her ear down across her chin. I am Nimiipu, her hand said. What tribe are you? I am Salish, he sighed. Then he ducked his head because others came near. Kaya went on to the otter teepee, but her thoughts were on the boy. Her people had many friends among the Salish. Nimipu often fished and traded with the Salish. Some had even married Salish men and women. Perhaps she and this boy could find a way to help each other. The next time she had a chance, she picked up some sticks and took them to where the boy was building a fire. Placing the sticks by his feet, she crouched beside him. Would he frown and turn away again? Instead, he met her gaze. Maybe he, too, had been thinking they might help each other. She threw him the words, "What are you called?" "I am called Two Hawks," he sighed. She signed to him, "I am called Kaya." "Kaya," she said out loud. He narrowed his eyes and said slowly, "Kaya." She nodded, that she had an idea. Perhaps she and Two Hawks could escape together. Two would have a better chance to make it back to the Buffalo Trail and over the mountains than one traveling alone. Would he come with her? And could she trust this boy? She wished she could know him better before she risked telling him her plan. He might betray her to the enemies in the hope of being rewarded with more food. Kaya watched for a chance. It came when she and Two Hawks were sent to bring cooking water from the river. When Kaya was sure no one could see them in the reeds by the river, she sighed, How long have you been a slave?" "I've been a slave for a long time," he answered. "I was captured in a raid on our village. I don't know where my family is, or even if anyone is alive." Kaya glanced over her shoulder. They were still alone, but it wouldn't be long before others came here for water. This could be the only chance she'd have to tell him her plan. She'd have to take the risk. "Pay attention to me," she sighed. "I'm going to go to Nimipu country soon. Come with me to my family." His dark eyes bored into her. Then he threw her the words, "I want to go to Nimipu country with you." Though a solemn expression gave away nothing, she realized he understood. "We will need hides. We will need food," she sighed. He shook his head. "No, let's go now." Kaya frowned. This foolish boy, she thought. If he acted recklessly, he put them both in danger. Didn't he know they'd have to wait for a dark night when they couldn't be seen? Did he realize they must plan ahead if they were to make it back safely? "Be patient," she sighed. "I'll give you a signal." "Now," he repeated. Then he pointed to the horse herd not far downstream. Kaya looked. Men were separating a few horses from the herd. Other men were tying bundles of buffalo hides onto the backs of the horses. She saw the step side was one of the horses carrying a load of hides. "What are they doing to those horses?" she sighed. I understand their words a little," he sighed. They're going to trade those horses and hides to another hunting party. Then they'll leave for Buffalo country. Soon. We must run away now." Kaya's mind was whirling. Step's tie was going to be traded away. Even now, the men were riding off with the loaded horses. Step's tie tossed her head and whinnied. She trailed behind the others as if she knew she was being taken far away from Kaya. Grief was a knife in Kaya's chest as she watched her beloved horse disappear over the rise. Two Hawks was right. They must escape soon or be taken much, much farther from home country. Kaya bit her lip. How could she bear to leave her sister and lose her horse as well?